Raise your voice at the Southampton African American Film Festival. Come listen to their voices. Come hear their cry. Come listen to their stories. Come experience their journey. At the 9th Annual Southampton African American Film Festival, October 2nd to October 5th.
Hi everybody, I'm Greg Shemazy from VVH-TV, and we're fortunate to have the upcoming Southampton African American Museum Raise Your Voices. It's a film festival. It's coming on October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And we have with us the executive director, Brenda Simmons, and Nigel Noble, Academy Award winning. He has so many awards, you probably ran out of shelf space, didn't you?
Well, a lot of them are in the garage now.
Yes, dust them off.
Oh, dust? I have to dust them?
Yes, of
You can
course.
always bring them here. We could use a couple of those. But anyway, this is it's a 9th year, right, Brenda?
Yes, it is. It's the 9th year.
And what an event. And raise your voice. And you certainly are raising the voice, not only in this community, but the worldwide community, and sensitizes fabulous films that you have. Can you give us a little thumbnail sketch about what the festival is about and what you hope to accomplish with it?
Well, the festival is about Raise Your Voice, which is our title. And we really want to get the word out and really it's more of a cultural experience as well, which is sometimes kind of lacking out here on the East End. So that's kind of the root of why I started this whole thing, really, to get more cultural experience out here on the East End. But the film festival, I think Nigel can best give us more about the details of our films. So I'll turn it over to Nigel with that one.
Well, we're going to start with Fruitvale Station, which I thought was a wonderful film. And being an Academy member, I get to see all these films and get to vote for them. And I was horrified it did not get into the final 5 or final 11, 12 maybe that it is. And it just sort of vanished.
Now that seems to be the theme of documentaries as a whole.
Documentaries
because they
vanish.
Show up and they take so much work. I mean, you open up a vein to do a documentary.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, and I know because my brother and I have been in the distribution business for 37 years, and when you look at certain films, you always look at the tonnage. Like, how is this film going to play on TV and home video and on Netflix and all this other stuff? And documentaries kind of are in a class, although they're unbelievable and excellent and not only an entertainment source, but a didactic teaching mechanism. And they really, I don't know why, they don't get the recognition. Even the Academy, it's difficult to kind of get them stimulated over them, don't you think?
Tonnage. I like the use of the word tonnage. I always thought it was footage. But,
Tonnage.
and didactic.
Truckloads of money, that's what
I don't think documentaries should be didactic, and I think the didactic ones do end up going down into the...
But why? What do you think that is?
Because I think they don't allow people to feel, for them to listen and figure it out for themselves. They like National Geographic, they tell you this and this and this and give you all the facts. And I'd rather that the audience was thinking about the film and getting to experience it.
An act from watching the film.
And so, yes, for me, it's very important to find films that are personal expressions, human expressions, that we can learn from.
Now,
Society can learn from.
The lovely film that you were involved with, that was, I'm from Brooklyn, and very proud of the fact that you actually, if you could talk about that film that you actually were recognized for, and
by that silly little guy standing there with the sword between his legs. The Oscar goes to... I knew it. We were at the Oscars. I'm put on the end of the row, and they put the documentarians always in the back.
Right.
And they have the furthest to walk.
Right.
And so I said to myself, we've been sat at the end of the row. I think they're guessing that I'm going to win.
Huh. And it was your first
It was my first film.
film, which is statistically unbelievable. Your first film as a
Yes, it's been
documentary.
downhill ever since.
Oh, yes. Stop that. He's very modest, I know. Very modest.
It was
fellow.
Close Harmony. It was in Brooklyn. It was. We lived in Brooklyn, and it's a film about an intergenerational chorus from a group of older adults in Flatbush.
Thank you. My arm car just did a flip in my wallet. Watch yourself.
And fourth and fifth graders at Brooklyn Friends.
Now, they're in two different areas of Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
Because Brooklyn, people think Brooklyn is one homogeneous area, but Brooklyn is divided up in various different,
Yeah.
fiefdoms and
Ethnic
kingdoms.
groups.
And everything kind of, except if somebody insults a Brooklynite, that everybody sort of solidifies into this homogeneous mass that
That's
comes
right.
after you. But that was a brilliant thing that you used, not only the age difference, but also the racial and ethnic difference and economic differences among them.
Yeah.
And you brought them all together around
It was a film about what is old. What really is old. My wife was was young at the time and is older now, was always insulted by the young girl, a fifth grader, who talked about the fact that when you sit in a rocking chair and knit, because my wife is a knitter, big knitter, and she was not old.
No, that's not a cool thing.
But there's a statement by a man who says, my brother, who is 65 years old, he's climbing a ladder and working on the porch roof. Well, I'm 71 and I work on the porch roof. Okay, man.
That's the way to do it.
So the Close Harmony.
Now, there's an example, that movie, Academy Award-winning movie, and let's follow the path of that particular movie and say it had its run, and you say, well, where is it like today? Has it showed up on television recently? Even in the...
It's interesting you say that, because it's still in distribution. 36 years later, something like that.
Okay.
It's still in distribution, and occasionally I get a phone call from somebody who, one particular, I was out on location, and I get this phone call from this woman in Canada, and she's quoting lines to me from the film. And I'm very happy it hasn't vanished. The Museum of Modern Art had a screening 2 years ago. It's in their collection.
Well, I think the saving
amazing
grace that's happening now is the fact that technology has come to the rescue. It does a lot of damaging things, but where you have YouTube and Netflix and these other things, that you can access anything worldwide and enjoy it. So, for instance, if they wanted to see any of these films and clips about the festival and everything else, people can, in the middle of Egypt, if they have access to high-speed connectivity, can enjoy them, exactly what you're talking about. And I think that what you did, you've assembled, you have quite an eclectic group of pictures that you have here, that really, the theme of Raise Your Voice, and again, it's October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Southampton, and we highly recommend that you go see it. Just give us an idea of what we have the clips playing behind us. That's what the people are enjoying behind us here. But the best bet is, how do they engage to see them? First of all, I see Sammy Davis and Ruby Dee and all these people that are icons.
Muhammad Ali.
Who's God help us when he goes, because we just got off the Jeter thing, but his career and his life has been exemplary. It's unbelievable what he's
raising his voice.
From raising his voice, and he did it in a sense that when you think about Muhammad Ali, he has embodied what that charismatic personality is. We ran into him a couple of times. In fact, at the Friars Club, he was on a dais, and we happened to get close to him and talk to him before, you know, he got physically, in his physical decline when he was still, you know, quite active. And what you saw that he actually engaged with you. When he'd come out of a cab on 57th Street, he looked at everybody on the street. Everybody on the street locked in with him. And it was amazing. No matter who you were, you could have been, you know, a guy pushing a rack with dresses or, you know, cop or anything. He locked into them. And that, to me, like, spoke what he was about, you know,
Yes.
that thing.
Yes.
And your movie, incidentally, is reflective of that point in history when he was at, you know, he was the greatest, and he is the greatest.
Yes, and I mean, one of the issues of this series of films is that we tried to put together a group of films where people spoke up, even though it was not totally acceptable.
Right.
And also putting their lives in line too.
Right.
Sacrificing their own personal lives as well.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Arlie started out as very flamboyant about his career. He's going to be the heavyweight champion.
That's right.
And everyone said, forget it, no, and they all thought of him as this arrogant fellow. But then, of course, he goes and beats Sonny Liston to the ground.
Knocks him down.
So we have as far as I can see, we have a boxing. I was thinking of driving here. We have a boxing film. We
Bell.
No, Bell is not the boxing film.
Just testing you, Nigel.
Okay. But we have a boxing film, a singing film. We have a cooking film in Booker's story, and we have a loving film in Bell.
Right.
But that's not really what they're about.
No.
It's not.
You know that the Porgy and Bess thing, which I'm an opera fan,
Yes.
and when I was a kid, and that you know, we grew up listening to the opera, and then when Porgy and Bess came along, it was like unbelievable. It was, and there was always that thing, well, it's not really an opera. It was made here in the United States, and look at the cast and all this other stuff. It's not, you know, a bunch of people from Europe, you know, Italy or Germany singing on stage. It's, you know, it's a story about you know, the South and black and when you sort of push that aside, indeed, truly, it is an opera in every sense of the word. And that's something that has your fingerprints all over it. You actually gave us a look behind the work, which you often wonder about. You say, wow, you know, and you actually gave both sides. You showed the people that were, you know, with their lances out putting, you know.
Yes, yes.
Could you reflect on that a little bit?
Yes, well, you know, I was asked to make a sort of parallel racial history of the opera. And the more I got into it, the more I saw how at every single level, from the book, the play, the opera itself, the movie, and then the television version, somebody was fighting with each other about every single version
Right.
from different perspectives.
Right.
And that was very fascinating to me, that
And getting to your theme.
racism from both sides.
Absolutely. And I think that follows your theme, because in raising the voice on both sides, it actually, I think, galvanized the differences in those days to kind of reach to harmony, racial harmony that we strive. We're still not there yet, but we need to kind of move in that direction. And those things sort of reflect on that. You know, when you look at it, when everything's stripped away and you say, well, wait a minute, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, you're holding up this as a defense for that's baloney. You know,
It's a sad thing how they stereotype.
Correct.
You know, that still happens, unfortunately. That still occurs, you know.
Right.
You know, white people can't jump. All black people can play basketball. You know, black people can dance. You know, white people can't dance. I mean, that whole stereotype
I
thing.
know.
And to say that black people can do opera, you know, that's really what that's
And
all about.
carry it, you know,
And carry it, you know.
And it was a beautiful, and Sammy Davis, the multi-talented, what he reached was unbelievable. He was an accomplished, not only performer, but he also was a photographer. He was a writer. He did all sorts of wonderful things, and actually showed early on, even if people look at the Rat Pack and that whole thing, you saw that harmony and where people of every group can kind of get together and not that you would want to drink as much as those guys drank. But what it showed was that you could have fun and you could enjoy each other's company and sort of play off of, like in jazz, play off of the other performer to excel your own virtues,
It's a respect thing, too.
Yes.
That's what I see. It's a real respect thing.
And Brenda, you have quite a history with television hosting, and you're an accomplished member of the community here. Very proud of you. What brought you to put this thing together and to be involved with it?
Well, actually, we have our museum, African American Museum, at 245 North Sea Road in Southampton.
Great place.
And this has been, we've been using this as a virtue museum because our building is not quite ready to be entered yet.
Yes.
So we've been using this to get the word out of who we are. So this is how we started, to get the word out of who we are. We started these film festivals.
And those people at home that have those checkbooks of benefactors, I'm going to say, if they want to get in touch with you,
they can send their checks directly to Southampton African American Museum. It's P.O. Box 2263, Southampton, New York, 11969. Thank you so much.
Excellent. A thing here that really struck me, and it's a local guy.
Pierce Concer. He was an ex-slave. He was a slave born and raised in Southampton. And actually, I'm glad you brought this up because we're going to probably be the stewards of this long history. I don't know how much you want me to explain about all this.
Well, it's a fascinating story because it says here, this is on his tombstone, though born a slave, he possessed those virtues without which kings are but slaves. And that really typifies what this fellow was about. It was unbelievable. And people are going to say, well, slavery in New York and certainly out here in Southampton, well, it was an issue.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I share the story about that he was a slave here in Southampton, born in Southampton, they look at me like, no way, no way. I said, yes way, yes way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But he became such an extraordinary man in Southampton, and he was a whaler. And he went out with MacArthur Cooper on the whaling trips.
Right.
And on that one of the whaling trips, they rescued a Japanese that was stranded in the water. And supposedly the story goes that he was the first black man they saw.
Japan.
And still, they honored him. They have a statue representing him in Japan. I think it was Kyoto at the time, which is Tokyo at the time.
Right.
And they actually came to Southampton to honor him at one point.
Amazing, amazing story.
And we just had a dedication and a ceremony for him, honoring him on Saturday. They reenacted his ferry because when he came back from the whaling trips, he started a ferry business that he would take people from one end of Agawam Lake to the other end, take the rich people to the beach.
Wow.
And he paid, charged a nickel to do it.
Wow.
But he had that business for about 40 years.
Amazing. And he died here on the
He died here on the East End. Matter of fact, his gravesite is there. They have a wonderful tomb that he was just an extraordinary man. In those days, for him to have what he had and to set an example to what he was, the slavery and the racial tension back then could have been, I'm sure it was more so, but he was an honorable man.
And despite that, he sort of excelled and
Absolutely.
certainly has his place in history, and he should be, certainly in our area and worldwide, but certainly here in our area, he should be acknowledged. And
that's been why I've been raising my voice for him.
Well, that's an excellent point, but that's something to tune into, and it's
pronounced Pierce Concer.
Pierce Concer.
Right, Pyrrhusconcer. And I really would advise anybody to Google him, and you can really find the awesome history about Pierce Concer.
Amazing history. And it's great that you guys are keeping the thing alive and promoting it for not only this generation, but generations to come.
Absolutely.
And it should not be, sort of discarded. That's terrific.
Absolutely.
Concerning the other films and just how people can access it, if I'm sitting at home, I'm watching this on television, first of all, the website is the museum's website, right? So give that again.
It's www.SouthamptonAfricanAmericanMuseum.org.
Excellent. And they can access tickets to the event.
Absolutely. You can buy tickets on the event. You'll see the time, the schedules. and the locations.
And a little preview of a little trailer.
Trailers, that's right.
Oh, that's important. That's good.
Except for Porgy and Bess, where there was none.
No, and that would cause a lot of legal issues, I guess, with the trailer. No,
I don't know.
I don't know. But let's see. On Thursday, that's you have Fruitvale Station. You're going to be involved in that.
Fruitvale Station, in light of what's going on in Ferguson, Missouri, and Staten Island this year with the overreaction of the police, it seemed to me very important to start with a film that could discuss that, because we like to start with a film that's free and available at a time that students and young high schoolers would be available to come as a group to see the film. And this obviously is an issue wherever you live, whether you live in the Hamptons or wherever you live in this country. The relationship between young adults and the police seems to be a little tenuous.
It's a nice word, free. And it's between 6 and 9 p.m. at 25 Jobs Lane at the Southampton Arts Center.
Which is where all the films are.
And this is on October 2nd. And October 3rd, you have the spoken word with an exceptional poet.
Yes.
Live jazz, Charles Certain. We love Charles.
Yes, we do too.
And Jay Ivey's going to be reading his poetry, and that's $25, 7 to 9 p.m., again at 25 Pound Lane.
It's Pond Lane.
Pond Lane.
That's at the Southampton Cultural Center.
Right, that's at the Cultural Center. And that's another terrific thing. And if you just touch upon the poetry and why you selected this gentleman, I think that...
Well, I'm a poet myself, and I'm poetry at heart. And I happened to be in an event early this summer, and someone introduced me to him.
Wow.
And when he said he was a poet, we connected, and I said, "Oh, you'll have to come to be a part of our film festival this year." Absolutely. So, the rest is, they said, the rest is history.
That's terrific. So it was,
it was meant to be.
God's put everybody together.
Absolutely.
And on Saturday and Sunday, the 4th and the 5th, it's a 2-day film festival, and this is where you sort of where the rubber meets the road, because you're going to have the Trials of Muhammad Ali, Porgy and Bess, Booker's Place, and Bell. And it runs from 1 p.m. to about 9 o'clock at night. And on Sunday, you have the shorts, which is a great way to enjoy that. And We Still Live Here, Life Essentials with Ruby Dee. Since she passed this year, Ruby Dee and her husband were mainstays of they did everything.
Absolutely.
From voiceover work to
advocacy.
Advocacy. And speaking of raising your voice, she was right up in front. I mean, she did not back down an inch.
Absolutely.
And she certainly, not only as an artist, but also as an advocate to bring people together and to raise consciousness of the plight that's going on in this nation.
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful as a testimony to her that you're doing that.
Absolutely.
It's a new film. It has not been released yet. So this is a Hamptons premiere.
Wow. People love that. So you got to bring popcorn or something, right?
And Muta Ali, her grandson, I think this is his first film, and it's a phenomenal film. And he calls, I think it's so endearing, he calls Ruby Dee Grand Ruby.
Oh, wow.
It's his Grand Ruby. Yeah, it's so endearing.
She is a gem, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I had the chance to work with her on Porgy and Bess, so she's actually the host, really, or the narrator, if you like,
Remarkable.
of Porgy and Bess. And she has a wonderful laugh, just a little girl's giggle.
Right.
And we hear a lot of that in
wonderful.
Life Essentials. So
well, I highly recommend all of the films should be seen, but that one in particular because of it's reaching, in testimony to her and her life. Because people, again, you kind of know her, and the way people, unless you're, one of the new artists, they know everything about George Clooney and how, where he's gotten married and the wine he served. Great guy. But somebody like that who was really behind the scenes and in the trenches, if you will, really has to be acknowledged. And I think that the fact that her grandson put it together is like even makes it even more delicious.
It gives it such an intimate view of who
Right.
Grand Ruby was.
Excellent.
We start the Sunday with shorts, which are all made by young filmmakers.
Local students here?
No, from School of Visual Arts in New York, but then also people who are just beginning to get into the industry, and I think they just show a perspective of different techniques and computer imagery that we're not seeing in the other films that are older. And the film We Still Live Here that follows the shorts is about a lost language of Native Americans up in Rhode Island that called, excuse me if I get this wrong, Wampanoag, which was a language that was also, I've been told, present here in this part of the country too.
Absolutely.
So, and it's a documentary about how that language was researched and found using modern technology to get back to that.
Well, that's exceptional.
And she's also having a conversation now with the Shinnecock Nation to probably come back and do the same thing. So it's exciting that she's also going to be here to do a Q&A as well as Muta Ali as well.
The thing I'm most curious about is how can you stimulate or plant in the youngsters' minds, high school, grade school, and college here in the county, in the nation too, the idea of really getting involved in documentaries, getting involved in the black experience to sort of promote what you're doing, what you're starting out to do with not only the museum but the festival. How can we sort of do that?
Well, we're hoping that being that we have this expert we have sitting next to me, we're hoping down the road that will be something that our museum will be doing. And hopefully that maybe Southampton Arts Center will take on as well. But definitely something that we're definitely planning to do down the road, that the museum will definitely be a part of.
I'm encouraged by looking at what you're doing, that you're sensitizing us to the whole, which is what we want to do.
Right.
So we can come back to you. We need some grant money to do this.
In fact, I think we did pass a couple
well, you actually helped fund some of this.
That's right. I remember,
Yeah.
I was not.
Yeah.
I was a positive voice in making it happen because, and I'll tell you this directly. If anything happens within our area, I always promote that heavily because I think that people think, oh, you don't need the help. We do, and it's something that here again, to encourage people that if they have disposable income or something that they want to do, to get behind the project. And get behind the museum, get behind the festival, because that would only make it greater.
Absolutely.
And it should be archived. All of these things should be part of the
And
what's
so
available.
much of the arts are being taken out of the school too. So I think this film producing and the documentary, all that would help the student. The music
poetry.
will express themselves as part of the art.
That's
And
right.
I think it helps them to get all that stuff off of them. They get into other things, but the arts to me is a way of expressing themselves. Instead of holding stuff, then they can draw something, or they can do a documentary, or they can do a poetry, or they can draw. So art is very important for students.
Again, it's two of the greats here. It's Brenda Simmons. She's the Southampton African American Museum. And Nigel Noble. Just Google both of their names. You'll be pleasantly surprised. And we highly recommend VVH Hamptons Television recommends that you don't walk, you run to your computer, you get the tickets ahead of time because they're going to be sold out.
Absolutely.
And the first date's for free. So, if you're out there dating and you want a cheap date, there you go. Right? You go there and maybe you could scrounge up a glass of wine and a little bit of cheese, and there you go. You got a first date. So that's on the second. And then you could, the term that we want to say is raise your voice. And you'll raise your voice in helping the community, which is terrific.
Absolutely.
Again, I thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us here.
And
Thank you.
it's been a blast.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.